one says, both guys wrecked themselves. I didn't touch them after run-ins with Larson and Bowman. Oh, I have a lot to say here on
Freddie.
this one.
Well, I can say one thing.
Denny's great.
Denny is great at packing air. I agree with him on half of this. He didn't touch the 48.
He didn't touch him.
But listen, just because you didn't touch a guy doesn't mean that you got exactly what you wanted out of that situation. You're going in there. I'm not saying that he wanted the 48 to spin, but he wanted to drive in there, pack as much air on the back of the 48 as he can, left rear quarter panel.
Why wouldn't he?
And free him up through the center of 3 so it kills all his momentum down the front stretch. Unfortunately, the 48 went around. Denny didn't make any contact there. Fast forward a couple of restarts later, Denny does exactly what the 8 did. The 21 and 8. He gives the 5 a big push, gets himself clear, drives into turn 1, and then it looks really similar to what we saw there last year. I think last year he gave Ross even less room than he gave the 5. I think that he intended on getting in there and making Kyle's life difficult, and was going to be willing to run him out of racetrack, and that's what he did. And when we get down to it, this is what we've talked about on here 1,000 times, and you can call me a homer because it's my boss or whatnot, but he's racing for the win, and that's a 10-point swing as far as playoffs go. Not only are you racing a win, you're racing another playoff or championship contender for a win. So now not only did you give yourself 5 points, you've cost that guy 5 points. I don't know that how much that factors into it, but I don't care if it's your buddy, your brother, your mom, whoever it is. You put any race car driver in that position, they're going to go for it, and Denny did, and obviously – and you guys can jump in here. Kyle has every right in the world to be pissed off. Denny got in there, drove into the side of him, and ran him in the fence. But at some they're racing for the win. I don't know what you're expecting of the guy on the bottom.
I am spot off as far as you can be spot off, because another guy, when the roles were reversed in this situation, which last I can remember is Martinsville, when Alex Bowman bumped Denny up the racetrack and got the win. Denny did not handle it very well and thought very poorly of that decision at that time. I don't know if you remember that or not. Even it disrupted the burnout on the front stretch because he was so upset by it. I don't think they should have. I don't think he should have raced. There was a reason to race the 1 like that, but to give a guy no choice but to lift or hit the wall, to me, is not really racing. And I get it. He's going for a win, but look, you shouldn't. If hard racing shouldn't be you lift or you hit the wall. That's the position I'm putting you in. Now, if that guy has wrecked you 3 or 4 times this year, he had every right to run Ross like that. And I 1,000,000% agree with how he put the position he put Ross in. It worked out perfectly how he wanted it to as well. Ross had to lift or he was going to wreck, and Ross wrecked. So, but to run a guy that I don't think has had a run-in with you. You're racing for the win. You did everything you could. You got beside him. Race him to the tunnel turn. Don't give the guy a decision to lift like that. That's just my opinion of it. But I don't think I know if the roles were reversed, Denny would be – there would be – you'd have to swim out of Pocono.
If we were at Myrtle Beach on a go-kart track with nothing on the line but beating you, I would do the same thing to you Denny Hamlin did to him, because I want to win. And I think Kyle has every right to be mad. I think Denny has every right to be happy. When you look at – I'll back up to the Bowman thing. Remember on your report card when you were really young and they would have this box and it would say plays well with others? You would get an X on that one because Bowman and Denny don't like each other. They race each other like asshats.
Well, they've hit like 3 times this year already.
It's every freaking week for whatever. If they're around each other, something's going to go down. Mm-hmm. So that is what it is. Denny didn't do anything wrong there. He packed air. Alex got loose. But looking at this Kyle Larson thing, what are you people that – even with TJ sitting here, this guy put on a helmet that day. He went out there, put his life on the line. He's paid millions of dollars to go out there and race. FedEx is a sponsor. Coca-Cola is a sponsor. Great Clips is a sponsor. You want him to go out there and worry about hurting Kyle Larson's feelings by winning the race? I'm sorry. I'm from where I'm from. Denny Hamlin did what he could. He raced. There was a racing incident. You could tell the second that Denny got on him that he lifted to get off of him, but it was too late. And it put Kyle in a predicament. Here's where I have a major problem with this whole incident, and people are going to disagree. It's fine. Kyle Larson under yellow drove up to the front, and he run Denny Hamlin in the wall. I have a major problem with that. That is a personal foul. In any other sport, that's a personal foul. What happens during the game happens between the sidelines as part of the game. I feel like Denny and Kyle were two grown men going after the same spot. The outcome was the outcome. There's no call to be made there by NASCAR. But NASCAR, if you're going to allow people under yellow to come up and drive other people into the wall and not penalize them, I have a major problem there.
Yeah, and you saw it last year. William got suspended, right? And then they I forget, something like he got a big penalty for this, for running into the back of Denny and spinning him out at Charlotte, I think it was, right? I can't remember where the hell it was. But, you know, this is, but TJ's right about one thing. If you're going to get, I still think that, you know, and to your point of just race him down to turn 2, I don't think that's going to be a race anymore. I think Kyle's going to get clear. Denny took the only opportunity he had to win the race right there.
I don't know that your teammate's third.
Yeah, but
Denny's teammate's
if
third.
you don't get up, your doors are blown off.
Yeah, like if the momentum's with the top, he's going to push the 5 by and try to get the 5 himself, I think, or split. So, you know, if you don't have momentum off of 2, and we saw it with the 8, you know, they make contact, the 8 loses all his momentum, and he's a dead duck down the backstretch. So that, I think, was Denny, and then, I don't know, I haven't talked to Denny, obviously, but like that's his best and maybe only shot to win the race. To your point, though, this is inevitably going to come back. Kyle cannot just keep letting this happen. Don't compare this to Kansas because it's not the same. Denny, you know, at Kansas, I think Kyle got in the fence with Denny up his ass, and then, you know, they made more contact after that. But that was not the same as this. But in Kyle's mind, this is 2 races now that Denny's ran him very hard and cost him wins. You have to do something about this, or it's going to keep happening to you. So inevitably, when this does come back to him and Kyle does something in return, or anybody really that costs Denny a win, he has to react the way he expects everybody else to react. He's telling, it's hard racing for the win. You know, I don't know. You know, I didn't do nothing wrong. I didn't wreck these guys. I didn't touch them. Well, that's not how they see it. You definitely made contact with the 5. You didn't make contact with the 48. But when that time comes, you better remember this and react in a similar way that you expect to be.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
When it does come back to him, he does not.
Well, that's the thing. I don't remember. I feel like the Martinsville deal, I'd have to go back and look at it, was probably a little more egregious than what we saw yesterday, only for the fact that you can run each other over there a lot easier. But, you know, this was not, and I don't, yeah, I mean, he did ruin Kyle's day.
Well, let me ask you this. Did he ruin Chase Elliott's day at Martinsville one time? Big time.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Then he said he was getting hit when there's not another car within a car length of him. But
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying when it comes inevitably, and to that point, speaking to Kyle, you cannot continue to get pushed around. If you are, you're not. People will continue to take advantage of you. You have to. And Kyle races hard. Like, you know, he's not one that doesn't like lay over for. He puts you in bad spots. But you're losing these dogfights, and we continue on this path. You need to correct it.
I don't know. All these people at home that are, I mean, listen, booing Denny, mad at Denny. I don't know how, because if I put my helmet on that day, and look, I was kind of surprised the run that Denny got into 1. He was able to turn in under him and get like he literally at one point had his bumper ahead of Kyle, and I was like, wow, I'm surprised in this particular car with this aero situation.
Same thing like Josh.
And it looked to me like similar. You probably have the SMT data to back it up. He pushed him into 1 so far that Kyle kind of missed the corner, and that's what allowed Denny. You know, Kyle kind of has, you see him kind of have to back his entry up after he gets.
You're not at
off
full.
of him.
You're not at full speed yet.
So that helps.
So
Yeah.
it's easier
Yeah.
to turn to the bottom
Yeah.
and make a corner out of it than it is when you go in there.
It was just impressive to watch. But look, 50th Cup Series win, 600th for Toyota. Holy cow, they haven't been here that long, guys. And you just look at this thing like this is a huge win. And you're at the racetrack where Denny dominated as a rookie back in 2006. His first 2 wins in the Cup Series were at Pocono when we used to go there twice a year. Rookies didn't win at Pocono back then. I mean, Pocono was a hard freaking racetrack. It still is now.
It's still hard, yeah.
But until they repaved this racetrack, Denny Hamlin dominated Pocono.
Yeah, he is the all-time winner at Pocono now. That was his 7th.
7.
Should have been 8. He got disqualified for a piece of tape last year. So, you know, it's a place he's great at, but – you know,
Denny's always right, is what Kyle Larson said.
And he said,
That
and all the
interview,
buddies know
spot
it.
on for that interview, though.
Kim Kuhn and Kyle Petty were the stars of the broadcast because, and I'm going to tell you why, Kim Kuhn, shout out to her for doing a phenomenal job pushing Kyle, getting Kyle to talk.
She
because
kept pushing him, too.
Listen, we've seen Kyle Larson win and get out and be like not that excited. Like right here, you've got a mad Kyle Larson. He said the S word on TV.
And she knows the relationship that they have, and she was willing to
She
put it out
did
there.
her freaking job. So often in the garage and in the media, especially these broadcasts, people are scared to say what they really think because they're going to see each other at the airport and they're going to see each other out to dinner next Thursday night when they all get into town. Kyle Petty came on TV. Whether you agree with his opinion or not, I literally don't care. Kyle Petty came on TV and he gave you his honest opinion on Denny Hamlin. And we need that. Like, we miss the Charles Barkleys of the world. Charles Barkley, whether you like him or not, he gets on TV and he tells you exactly what Charles Barkley thinks. And we don't have that. Kyle Petty was the closest thing we've had to that in a long time. So shout out to Kimmy Coon and Kyle Petty yesterday for being all-stars MVPs of the broadcast.
What was Kyle Petty's take? I missed that.
What the Kyle Petty got to do with this?
He didn't agree with.
Good play.
He said Denny got out and played. He said he made himself the victim, and Kyle called him out on it and said, "You're absolutely wrong," basically, and you went in there and initiated the contact.
But Denny's always right. Kyle said it.
But Denny's
come back.
Larson said it.
Guy,
Yeah,
if
Larson
the
said
tables
that.
are turned, it doesn't always work out how he wants it.
Oh, I thought you meant Kyle. That's what
I
Kyle
thought
Petty
Larson
said.
said. Larson said Danny's always right, and
Yeah.
all the buddies know it, or something like that.
I think that what was funny was a lot of his buddies were on the plane when he landed and gave him like the champagne spray.
One thing that I did, you talked about what you didn't like him going up there and running into him. One thing I didn't like about this was fast forward to the next restart, and we've already seen penalties for this year. Cliff Daniels gets on there and tells Kyle, like, you better handle this right now. Or, this, if you're going to handle this is your opportunity. Well, you can't say that. Now you've kind of taken the knife out of your driver's hand.
So that's another question I have. So even Kyle called it out and said, obviously I have to race him more aggressive. I've never had to apologize for him. Denny's had to apologize multiple times. But he said it. I can't outwardly say how I'll be racing him in the future because, NASCAR will obviously call that.
You like if you're Cliff Daniels and you tell him you better handle this on this restart, and Kyle goes into turn one and wrecks Denny, well, now you probably just got your team a penalty because you
can't retaliate.
You can't
Right.
talk about it. I mean, you can retaliate.
Yeah.
Don't talk about it. Don't admit it. So, and we saw that a couple of years ago. Like, if the driver wants to retaliate, he's going to do it. You don't talk him into it because we saw that with, I think it was Byron at Watkins Glen when, Byron's, he was a young kid at the time. I think he might have been rookie or second year, and Chad's his crew chief. And Chad, I think it was Kyle did something to him, or they got together off of turn one, and they're encouraging him, go up there and get him, go. And he goes up there kind of half-assed trying to get him, and Kyle locks the brakes up and knocks the nose off the 24. And it's like he would never have done that, and he was half-assed doing it because you're talking him into it. Like, if these guys are going to retaliate, let him retaliate. Cliff was kind of stoking the fire of, you should hear what they're saying about you on the 11 radio. If you're going to get him right now. Listen, just let it go. If he's going to, like Bubba, I always know, like, if Bubba's going to retaliate or not, because he'll never, if he's going to retaliate, he's not saying a word about it. Like, he's going to be quiet, and then something's going to happen. But there's no need to stoke the fire. Let these guys handle it themselves.
Do you penalize, if both of you guys are president of NASCAR this week, do you penalize Kyle Larson for running Denny Hamlin into the wall under yellow on purpose?
I think you have to. I think to stay consistent, you have to.
I don't think they will because of a lot of reasons.
I don't think they will either, but I think to deter it in the future, what's to stop, if TJ at RFK is leading or running second, and Denny Hamlin's leading the last race, what's to prevent Buescher from going up there and running into Denny Hamlin and knocking a fender and to help, I'm not saying that's likely to happen, but if you don't set precedents for this, what's to stop these things from happening?
I hated it.
Yeah, that's such a tough call right there because nothing.
It's not tough. What's tough about it?
Well, nothing came about from it, but like.
But he ran him
could
the wall.
have. It could have. I mean, he could have flattened a tire, left front, right front, something. It could have flattened something like that, and that's where that would have got messy.